Welcome, live audience. My name is Tim Minchin, and this is Chain Reaction on Radio 4. Born the same year as me in 1975, Caitlin Moran grew up in a 3-bedroom house in Wolverhampton with her mother and father and 7 siblings. She changed her name to Caitlin at 13, wrote her first novel at 15, got a job at a music magazine, Melody Maker, at 16, was hosting a music show called Naked City at 18. The same year she started writing a column for The Times. She was married at 24 and had a kid at 25.
And now I'm dead. It feels like you're about to get to where you go, and now she's dead. And
she's really done it all too quickly. She died of old age at 34. Yeah. So, quick interview. Thank you. Good night. Her latest book, How to Be a Woman, is about how to be a woman, and it's been in the top 10 for the last year and will soon be made into a film. And I really, I love her in a not very decent way. Please welcome Caitlin Moran.
Tim, you're being so brave. I can't believe that you're doing a radio show with no voice.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like being in the trenches at the Somme.
Before we came out here, Tim realised that he'd got a big sniffle and needed to blow his nose. So I've brought toilet paper with me, and I'm going to keep it on my fingers. So I'm going to be like the toilet roll dispenser holder thing for tonight.
And I don't have the heart to tell her that I'm not white trash. So I only blow my nose with kerchiefs.
I'm so thrilled that you asked me to do this. Thank you very much. I won't turn this into a massive love-in, but when I heard that Tim wanted to interview me, I was very, very excited. Not least because he's the only boy that I know that appears to be on the same quest to make his hair very big.
Yeah.
And to wear as much eyeliner as possible. Yeah. Although I'm saddened to see that your hair is quite small today.
Yeah, I have small hair. I know. I've spent the day doing interviews with no voice and trying to, at the same time, construct an interview. As you can tell, I haven't asked a question yet. This is not... I'm very much used to... I got into my job so I could be a narcissist. This is hard for me. How are you?
I'm great.
Oh, great. Anyway, so I love meeting people who are born in the same year, because I'm really interested in how paths cross, and I picture, I think they call it a spaghetti map. If you were trailing ink your whole life, you know, you'd have me there in Perth, West Australia, my little ink trail starting at very much the same time, you in Wolverhampton, and yours would go, you know, in and out of London through your teens at sex and drugs and rock and roll, this wiggly spaghetti map, and mine would be like to hockey and back. You know. and then wiggle, wiggle, and off I go to England and wiggle, wiggle. Oh, we probably passed each other on the street, wiggle, wiggle, and then here we are, the first time ever our little
our spaghettis have mingled.
Have mingled in the backstage of the theatre. It's cool. You changed your name to Caitlin.
Yeah, it had good connotations for me. One of the questions you should have asked me was, what was your educational background?
Shut up for a second. This thing gets edited. Watch this. So what was your... No, don't worry, I'm going to talk about your educational background in a minute.
Well, I was just going to explain that because I didn't go to school, I was taught at home by my parents. My only education was to go to the local library literally every day and slowly read every single book that was in the library. And I obviously started off with all the funny books because that's the most important thing in the world. And then after that, I read all of the sexy books because that's the second most important thing in the world. And then after that, it was just kind of free time.
And you having funny sex all the way to your 20s.
I'd read all of them by the time I was 15. So then I moved on to the freaky books. I got into the occult section. So I read all the books about UFO conspiracy theories and witch trials and all this kind of stuff. And then I got around to numerology, which would tell you that you could tell your future and your fortune by assigning each letter in your name a number, adding it all up, and that would tell you your fortune. And Catherine Elizabeth Moran, which is my real name, did not have a very glorious future. I think she stayed in Wolverhampton and did nothing.
So you tried to trick the numbers.
I tricked the numbers.
Sweet, and look at you go.
Yeah, I played a trick on maths.
Hey, so you just didn't get sent to school, really. You say you were taught at home, but you were self-taught.
Yes.
Really? I mean, your parents just sort of went, school.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of an active hindrance in many ways. They were just like...
hippies, breeding.
Yeah, so they took us out of school, and we were kind of like, do we get lessons? And they were like, nah. And so we just sat around all day watching musicals, eating cheese. There was a lot of innovation with cheese. We invented the cheese lollipop. which is a lump of cheese on a stick, which you can also vary in making a lump of cheese on a fork if you're feeling a bit more special.
So good.
And then also and then we progress from there on to the recipe cheese on cheese, which is a slice of cheese on some cheese, which when you make it you have to sing the cheese on cheese theme tune, which is cheese on cheese, to the melody of Girls on Film by Duran Duran. Cheese on cheese, I'm having some cheese now, cheese on cheese.
So, did it suit all your siblings? Did they all manage to get enough education out of this non-system?
Yeah, well, we were just a really big gang, and so I can remember teaching my youngest three to read and write. I became teacher.
If you hadn't have been interested in reading, it probably would have fallen apart, because an older sibling, I think, often
is the best one. I mean, that was what I repeatedly told them. I was the best one. The week that we discovered religion, we were sort of brought up non-religious. My parents told us that they were Zen hippies, which didn't mean anything at all. And when I started reading about other religions, I read about Catholicism, and as the oldest child, I realised that this was just a massive system open to abuse by me. I told them about Catholicism. I was like, you must, I'm going to be the priest. This doesn't end in the way that some of you might be worrying it might do. It's not that. It's not that. It's okay. And I was like, you must come and confess to me, come and confess the bad things you've done today. And they would tell me minor infractions, such as I stole a thing or I did a bad thing. And I would go, okay, I have absolved you from your sins. And I would do all of this and I would send them away. And then 10 minutes later, I would blackmail them really, really heavily with all the knowledge that I had got out of them. So it was a benign system.
So your mum didn't believe in medicine and stuff like that, and you're not like that anymore. How did you get out of it? Believing weird stuff.
From going from a hippie background to being more rational and kind of focused, I guess. I mean, there were many things. Most of them involved sort of leaving the house and interacting with other people. And I realised that not everything my parents had told me was true. I mean, a lot of my hippie beliefs fell by the wayside when I was having my first daughter, and it was a very difficult birth. And one of the pieces of advice my mother, who'd had 8 children, had given me was that the baby's very wise and it knows its way out. So I was kind of sitting there after 3 days on an epidural, just waiting for this wise baby to find its way out, thinking, maybe I have a stupid baby and all the other ones are a bit cleverer than this. That is a defining thing you will notice about babies. They are dumb.
They're stupid as hell. Just the other day on Facebook, a friend of mine had posted a link to her friend's blog. This woman was saying, I was 8 weeks overdue, and they told me I wasn't allowed to. Maybe it wasn't 8, but it was something. It was something shocking.
Yeah.
And she was like, and they're telling me I have to have it induced. My body knows what to do. And I was just, your body doesn't know what to do, and you can tell that by the statistics. And the question that I guess comes out at the end of that, I worry that, and this is a question because I don't know. I don't know.
All the best questions have someone repeat it again. This is a question all the way through it. Yes.
Well, no, because I'm not very good at knowing what I think about stuff, and so I want to know what you think about this.
Do you want to get your piano out and sing this one, Tim? Is that what you're basically saying?
I'm better in rhyme. I worry that women are condescended to by people who are meant to be empowering them. Do you worry about that? That women, I think we treat women, you're not smart enough to understand science and data. We'll let you have your anecdotes and your old wives' tales, and that's meant to be empowering them.
Yes. One of the things that I'm working on at the moment, not the next book I'm going to write, but the one after that, is about the origins of magic. I was thinking, why would you invent magic? Why would you invent superstitions and old wives' tales and the idea of cursing people? And I was thinking, well, if you were a woman in like the 14th century, and just the feudal lord can come around and attack you and rape you and just take your house away at any point, the only power that you would ever have, if you had any charisma particularly, is just to stand and look at them and go, you do this and I will curse you.
Yeah.
I will curse you. And often it's kind of, sorry, I mean, I'm not, take that, I was pointing at Tim at the time.
She was really pointing his quite bony finger at me.
That was, I had the safety catch on, that was not a real curse. It's fine. But yeah, no, the idea of kind of instinct and stuff, and again, and I think, it sort of speaks of a lack of power. I can remember being very aware of this as a teenage girl, and I remember for a while thinking that I should be psychic. Maybe because I had long hair and wore long dresses, and that seemed to be part of it. But I noticed kind of as I got a better job, and I made more friends, and I earned more money, that I kind of didn't really care about being psychic anymore, because I could do things like get cabs instead, which seemed to be a far... a far greater power to have.
Right.
And so these kind of witchy things. And what I notice is, and it's the same with a lot of female things, that you have two extreme polarizations. That you don't have this kind of brilliant, more rational middle ground to discuss things, rather than either being you're a full-blown witch like Stevie Nicks, or you're in there going, yes, doctor, you must save me now.
Yeah.
But I mean, this week there's I think it's an American magazine's got a cover of a woman with her child who's still 5 years old, and she's breastfeeding him, and it says, "Are you woman enough to extreme breastfeed at the age of 5?" And immediately, every journalist in Fleet Street has piled onto this and had to write a piece about how they're either for or against this. The people who are for it are like, well, you know, it's natural, you would do this in the wild, although let's face it, bad things happen in the wild, and I've never really seen that as... But then obviously the other columnists piled in and went, well, no, it's disgusting, you know, like, think of your child, this is like child abuse, you know, get your child grow up and all this kind of thing. And I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if a woman did something and we could all go, that's okay, I don't really have an opinion on that, or, yeah, let her get on with it. It's always got to be, yes, I am pro this woman, or no, she is terrible. It's never people just going, oh, well, fair enough, seems to be working for her, get on with it. There was a survey done recently in The Guardian that said it was something like 89% of pieces in the broadsheet newspapers were written by men, and something like 94% of appearances on Radio 4 were by men. As soon as any woman comes on, like whenever they have a woman on Question Time, you know, everyone's immediately on Twitter, oh, I wouldn't have worn that. What's she saying, mad old bitch? It's why, even though I've been asked to do Question Time many times, I wouldn't do it, because I refuse to go on there and be the token woman. You know, I've been asked to do lots of comedy shows, all the big panel shows and stuff, and I think that's a boys' game that works for boys. It's not like they built it to screw women over, it's just that some boys built it so they made it to work for boys. If I go on there as a token woman, it's not going to work for me. I can just sit on Twitter and say stuff while I'm making my kids tea. I love to watch boys playing boys' games, but I don't want to go and take part in a boys' games in much the same way that I know I can't play football because I run around holding my breasts and I close my eyes when balls go near me. And that was what it would be like going on Have I Got News for You? I would close my eyes as the balls came towards me.
That's my deciding whether to make a joke about... I get shivers when I hear...
Stamina.
I went to uni in the 90s in West Australia, right? I didn't see my now wife, who I got together with at that time, out of her dungarees until her mid-20s, you know. I just can't believe that somehow women have come back to believe that dressing in virtually nothing is a new feminism. It feels like a trick a man must have done to sell this. But I actually don't know if it is. Maybe it's a result of feminism largely having worked, and women now turn in on themselves and are being sexually competitive. Is that a really terrible thing
I
to
don't know.
say?
I mean, I take a long view on this because, I mean, really, in the scheme of things, feminism has been going that long, and, you know, men have always been in charge. The points where you kind of have to crystallise what you think is happening with women with feminism is when you're talking to your children. I've got 2 daughters, they're 11 and 8. And my husband's a rock critic, and I used to be a rock critic, and we watch a lot of MTV. And a lot of the best pop that's being made at the moment is by women who aren't wearing many clothes. How do I explain this to my kids? Kind of, how am I as a feminist going to say the pop music is brilliant, and also you can't deny pop's urge to be sexual. Pop is always going to be about wanting to get load and being
of those women. They're powerful women.
And everyone looking amazing and all this kind of thing. But again, it comes back to that lack of choice. Everybody has no clothes on. Adele is the only person who's been allowed to wear sleeves and get to #1 ever. And on top of that, she's a pioneering ginge. I mean, she ticks nearly every single one of my feminist role model boxes. She's got an ass, she's got sleeves, and she's got ginger hair. I love her. But the thing that we finally came down to in the end is that we would pity Rihanna. I would say to the girls, I said to my girls, kind of like, look at Rihanna. She's one of the biggest pop stars in the world. She's really famous. She's really powerful. She's really rich. But in every single video, she can only wear pants. And imagine if she was having to go and do the video that day and she had a cold or she was really poorly, and they wouldn't let Rihanna wear trousers. Poor Rihanna. And you know what, girls? We will know when Rihanna is properly powerful and successful when we see her wearing a lovely cardigan in a video. And the other thing with feminism is it wasn't just a failure of academic feminism. Popular culture really just seemed to drop the ball about 15 years ago. You know, you just don't see kind of normal, you know, feminist women in sitcoms or in films or in books. Everybody just wants to bake and eat cupcakes. Yeah. You know, like... we're sort of adapting the book into a film now. We just sat down and wrote a list of all the things that annoy us about films that have got women in, and it's kind of like, you've got to have you've got 4 friends. One of them will be fat, one of them will be rich, one of them will be gay. Those are the friends that you will have, and everything can be solved with cocktails. You'll either want to be a writer or you want to open a cupcake cafe. You'll be really dyspraxic and clumsy to the point of being borderline disabled. You're just kind of, you can't do anything. If you start working in an office, you'll just pick up the cup and drop it and just be like, oh no, so sorry, I dropped the cup. You can't do, you're some kind of weird, enchanting pixie woman child. Just kind of constantly singing little songs about things and being delightful. You just never see women kind of like who go, kind of go, oh, I smell a bit of soup. Kind of... again, from like reading all the books and from all the TV and the films that I watched, I just thought that I should smell literally of honey and vanilla, and I couldn't believe it. And I got to 14 and I was like, I smell of onions. Like, I am... But this is the thing, like, with feminism now, why I enjoyed writing the book so much, kind of, we don't get burnt at the stake anymore, and we're not going to get locked up in prison, and we don't have to throw ourselves under a horse. If all women just, like, truthfully tell how they feel about some stuff and go, you know what, I can't be bothered with that. I mean, I love Grazia and I read it every week, but, like, how much of it can you be bothered with? You know what I mean? Like, you read through it, just go, no, won't be doing that, won't be doing that, won't be doing that. Can't buy that, don't care about that, can't remember who she is. They should just get on with it.
I passionately agree with everything you say, and I know we're not going to solve it here, but the...
Oh, hang on, I thought that was...
Well, you're going to have a bloody good go. If my voice was back, I'd solve it in a flash. How is it legal to have an upskirt shot of a woman's bum taken by a dwarf paparazzi on the front page?
Although you make it sound quite funny, but yeah, no, it's a political issue as well,
it's
but yes,
hilarious,
no. Yeah.
But it's not our bum.
No.
It's not our bum to exploit.
Yes.
It's her bum. If it was my bum, and I hired the dwarf, and maybe she hired the dwarf, but how is it not... Can I segue here into journalism and public interest? How can we define an upskirt shot of a girl's bum taken by a dwarf paparazzi as
You're making it sound so fun. You've got to think of something else.
But why is it public interest for something to be fun at the expense of someone's privacy? If it's not in the public interest in a much higher brow sense, it should be illegal.
It's just horrible. The trade in unethical gossip is like the trade in unethical meat. There could be ethical gossip where people want to go and tell their stories and stuff, and some celebrity wants to talk about their life. That's ethical free-range gossip. They have their story and they will tell that in exchange for money. Yeah. The one where you go and steal someone's gossip off them is like battery-farmed meat to me. So, I like nice gossip and good free-range Jamie Oliver gossip. Yeah. I don't like the horrible, skanky battery farm gossip. There are so many newspapers and there are so many magazines, and they have to have some gossip, so we're not going to make gossip stop. And I was trying to think of ways around this. And when Pudsey the dog won Britain's Got Talent, and the next day the Star splashed on their front cover, BGT star Pudsey in gay secret. And revealed that Pudsey is in fact gay and is cheating on his girlfriend Crumble, with whom he's had 6 puppies, with a beautiful Cocker Spaniel called Sam. I thought, this is our way out. If we simply have more celebrity animals, because now the tabs are all out to get more gay slurs on Pudsey. Pudsey doesn't care. So long as Pudsey's let out 3 or 4 times today to do a wee and his bowl's full of Mr. Dog, you can gossip about him as much as you want in the paper. So we just need to have more celebrity animals. I think every couple of months we just nominate an animal. But, on a kind of, that was kind of what I saw Big Brother and things like Made in Chelsea and The Only Way is Essex being as well. That they were basically people volunteering themselves for simply the celebrity part of being a celebrity, thus leaving people like Chris Martin from Coldplay. He can go over there and be quiet with Gwyneth and wear a beanie hat and be all private and just write his songs and get on with being creative. And then some gonk from Made in Chelsea who's completely orange will do all the kind of waving and turning up at nightclubs and having upskirt photographs done, because that's what they want. They're happy to just simply be famous, and we can just simply separate the two.
Of course we can.
And that was my ethical sort of solution to the whole thing. I busted the whole thing quite well.
It is awesome. Of course we have that cultural problem. It's terrible, right? I sometimes feel very condescending. I want to save people from their own choices. That's what it comes down to, right? However, both with the woman in the burqa or the woman in the tiny, tiny skirt in Newcastle in the middle of winter, you want to stop them and say, no, you've made a mistake. None of that's good. I know, I went to uni. Oh man, it's a slippery slope.
But you know what the thing is, though? I mean, the best thing to do if you're in our position is to choose what you think is right and then just try and make it look cool. And you're not getting in anyone's face either. You're making it look fun. I mean, that was the idea with sort of writing a book about feminism. I was like, well, I could write a real ball-aching book where I'm just going, you must believe that women are equal to men because it's like a fact of science. Or I could just write a funny book where women go, oh, this, I'm having fun reading this and this is making me feel happier about myself and now I'm just going to buy myself a more comfortable pair of pants.
You said
or not wear pants at all, which is what I've started doing recently.
I totally... everyone's laughing. I'm unembarrassed by that sort of thing. I wonder about our contempt for authority. We seem to be at a point where now you shouldn't respect anyone. And so we just hate politicians because they're politicians, because they're trying to tell us what to do.
Well, yeah, this country can only be as clever as most people in it are. So
I, by the way, want a leader that is totally out of my reach. I want a leader who's so smart I can't understand what he's saying.
Yes.
You know, I don't want someone like me, and I don't have contempt.
No. Well, this is why I had a lot of time for Gordon Brown. You know, he just really liked to do maths, and I think, and I think it might be the last time, unless there's sort of culture change in this country, that we see a politician like that. You know, he was terrible on television. Every time he tried to make a joke during those politicised debates, you'd be like, Gordon, no, just back away from the joke, man. It's going to choke you to death. I don't need you to be my friend.
I want him to be tired.
Yes. Yes.
I don't want him looking fresh-faced.
No, or well coiffed. Yeah, and I don't want someone who's going, oh, I like to watch The Only Way is Essex. No, you know, I want you to have not had time to watch television in 5 years. I want you to have no personal life whatsoever.
I want you to not know what Britpop is.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Don't tell me you like the Arctic Monkeys, because that's just spoiled it for me. Yeah. I liked it when David Cameron said that he liked the Smiths and Johnny Marr went on Twitter and went, I forbid you to like us. It's just like... That was good. That made me happy. At that point, I really spitefully then just read some interviews with David Cameron and tried to find other bands that he liked, and then personally tweeted members from those bands going, can you come out and say that he's not allowed to listen to you as well? And maybe simply by ruining his entire iPod, he may resign. But you know what? Dara O'Brien told me off for doing that, so I had to stop. He said, I don't think you can go around telling people what they can and can't listen to. And I felt like, to me, he feels like the headmaster of Twitter, and I was like, okay, I'm going to stop.
You do have do you have a slightly have your cake and eat it attitude to politeness?
Oh, well,
online.
I'm quite. I am quite polite. No, I mean, it doesn't count being rude to David Cameron, does it? But I mean, everybody else I'm very polite to.
That's actually where I wonder if that's exactly wrong. Whether
oh, you and Dara ganging up on me like the patriarchy, tell me what I can and can't do on Twitter.
I just don't think chicks should be allowed to.
All right, Dad. All right, what should I do on Twitter, Dad? Am I allowed to go out in these shoes, Dad?
I'm again genuinely asking the question. What do you think about?
Well, I
because you're a bit mean about Jordan, even though I think she's doing terrible things.
Well, she's one of the very few exceptions, but I do 3 columns a week. I'm a TV critic, and I pride myself on being kind of not really a TV critic. I sort of go out of my way to only write about things that I like, which is very different to most TV critics, because it's just easier to write about something. It's so much easier to get laughs out of slagging something off.
By the way, I don't think you shouldn't ever...
No.
I'm not painting you as someone who's impolite. You're amazingly... I'm just wondering...
Oh, no, but this is... I mean, it's interesting
to report it,
because there are ethics to it. I think you have to think, in any public situation, you have to go... My job as a writer and a columnist is that for however much you pay for the Times, £1.50, I give you some opinions, and you can either agree or disagree. You know, you are shaping a public discourse, and the language that you use and the way that you talk about things and the way that you treat people and talk about them...
You're part of a...
Yeah, will affect the way that people... You know, you are more than someone having a normal conversation, which is why, you know, there are certain critics who... I don't know, like A.A. Gill said that stuff about Professor Mary Beard, who's done a series about the Romans. He said that she was too ugly to be on TV, and that she shouldn't appear on television with unkempt hair.
I'm not sure A.A. Gill's a very good person.
Yes.
I don't know, but I suspect he hasn't thought very hard about his own ethical position.
Well, then you should. I mean, and I met him. He came up to me. I met him at an awards ceremony a couple of months ago, and he came up and he was really delightful and charming and lovely.
You called him on Shooting the Baboon, didn't you?
Oh, did you know about No. He came up to me and went, "Oh, I really love what you write." And I said, "Oh, I think you have an amazing talent." I think he does. I think he's an amazing writer. But the only thing I want to ask you, I had 5 drinks by this point, is why do you use your powers for evil instead of good? And he looked a bit confused, and I went, you went out that time and you shot that gorilla. And he went, it wasn't a gorilla, it was a baboon. And I went, you went out and you shot that orangutan and it was really bad. Why would you do that? And he was like, it was not an orangutan, it was a baboon. And I was like, you went out there and you shot the monkey from Every Which Way But Loose, starring Clint Eastwood. Why would you do that? Hey, Gil. He wrote this feature about how he shot a baboon because he wanted to know what it was like to kill something that was quite like a human. And I just thought it was a really odd way to spend a holiday, because we just went for walks in Wales. So yes, as a critic, I try to be not critical. I try to only write about things that I like. I write a column about celebrities every Friday. I try to be surreal about things or sympathise with them. Kind of like that time that Charlie Sheen ended up with a naked prostitute locked in his wardrobe after he'd had a massive cocaine rampage frenzy in New York. I noticed that happened in the week of half-term. And I was like, kids are off school. Have we not often felt we might end up like that? At the end of half-term? So it's that kind of thing. It's not kind of going, you're getting divorced and you're heartbroken, you failed. It's kind of just, so I try to be good, and I try to be polite.
Yeah, I think writing about celebrities is very old and obviously a huge part of human nature. I've got nothing to say about that. I haven't asked a single question from a people. I'm sitting talking to the amazing Caitlin Moran about stuff. I could go for hours. You're wearing pants now? That's not my final question.
I think it should be.
It took you 20 years to write a second novel. You're going to write another one soon?
Yes. I start the next novel in September, and I'm really, really excited about it. I ripped an idea off from a Lady Gaga video, for which I'm making an entire narrative. And that's just something that Truman Capote never said.
And
he would have, though, wouldn't he? Let's face it, he would have done that, but yes.
Is this going to be novel?
Proper novel, proper beautiful novel,
Novel with made-up people?
Funny novel with made-up people. It's a novel. Wow. And I'll call it Novel. Like Rebel by David Bowie. Novel. And it'll be a singing book, the world's first singing book. It'll be amazing.
I don't know about that. I like Cheese on Cheese as a single, though. Caitlin, I'm very excited to meet you, and I was very excited to talk to you, and I want to talk to you more and more. But it's a radio show, which means it has limits. And I want to thank you for talking to me. And let's go and lubricate my throat.
Thank you very much. I've really liked this. I love you, Tim Minchin.